In this video, you will be learning to solve a 3x3 Rubik's Cube. By the end of the video, you should be able to solve a 3x3 Rubik's Cube and impress all your friends. Let's get started. So, let's get started. So to start, we'll just scramble up our cube. Okay, so to start, I'm going to be making something called the daisy. And the daisy is basically when you have 4 white edges like this around the yellow center, and it makes what looks to be a daisy. This doesn't really matter. I mean, you can just see like a piece here and you can just move it in like this. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't require too much intuition. You just kind of move a piece in. So if there's like a piece, for example, over here, you can just move it in with an L or an F move like that. Right, now the first case comes when you have this piece, but when you move it in, you're going to knock out another piece. So the best way to do this is to hold it like this, and then you're going to move the top layer using U moves until you have an empty slot, and you can move this piece in like so, just with L moves. Right, now when you have a piece like this that's on this side, but it's oriented wrong, then you can't exactly just move it in with L and R moves. So what we're normally going to do is we're going to put an empty slot above it. So the empty slot will go above it. That way we don't move it out when we try to move it like that. Then we'll use an F move to move it into the slot like this. Then we will move the top layer with U or U prime, depending on which, and then just move it in. And we have a daisy. Right now when it's in the bottom, all we do is we're just going to hold it in the front like this, and then make sure there's an empty slot here so that you don't end up moving this out of the way. So when you have an empty slot and this like this, you're going to hold it in the front and you're going to do F2, or you're going to move the front face twice. It doesn't really matter which way you move it in because it's going to end up doing the same thing. Okay, and lastly, when it's in the place but it's flipped over like this, all you're going to do is you're just going to hold it on the front, do an F move like this, then do a U move to move the empty slot above it, and then we're going to move it into the empty slot with an R move. And there we go, you now have your daisy. Alright, on to step 2. So now that we have our daisy, we are going to make the white cross. And that's basically just going to take these pieces and put it on the white side. Sounds pretty easy, and it is pretty easy, but you need to make sure you follow it. So let's start by holding the daisy on the top like this, and we're going to move the cube around, and what we're basically going to look for is we're going to look for a line. For example, this will be green, and we want a line like this between the center and this. This can be for any color, so we're just going to look around. If you see no lines, which is very possible, it's what I've got here, then all you're going to do is going to do a U move until you get a line. You might have to do multiple U moves. Now that we've got a line, we're just going to hold it on the front and do F2. Next, we're going to look for another line. Just going to rotate, and we found a line. We're going to hold it on the front and do F2. Okay, we're going to look for another line. We don't see a line, so we're going to move it U. And we still don't have a line, so we're going to move U again. And there we go. Now we have a line. I'm going to hold it on the front and do F2. And then finally, we're going to look around. We have a line here. F2. Keep doing that until you've got your white cross, and the way to check that you've done this properly is obviously you'll have a cross, but there will also be 4 lines around your cross like this. If you don't, then you will just have to make the daisy again and rewatch the bottom steps. Of course, if you go to my website, cubingweb.tk, there is a more in-depth guide on how to do this. This is just a brief video in case you're better at video tutorials. Right, up next, we're going to be doing the white corners. So what we're basically trying to do is we're trying to find corners like this and put them in here. But we also want to make a bridge between the stripes. We don't want to just put random corners in random places. If that doesn't make sense, it's fine. I will explain it just now. Basically, what you're going to do is you're going to find a corner piece, which has got 3 colors on it, with a white sticker on it. I've got one here, but you can have any colors. It doesn't have to be this color, okay? Then all we're going to do is we're going to make sure that it's above its corrective slot. So for example, what I mean here is white, and the other two colors are red and green. Red and green. So we want to put it white, red, and green. We want to put it to go in between white, red, and green. If, for example, my piece was over here, you can see that this is not the correct slot because it does not have red and green. Correct slot, but it isn't because there's green, but there isn't red. So if it's in the bad slot, just move it with U moves until it's in the good slot. And now that you've got it in your slot, there are 3 possible cases that you can have, plus 1 more case. So the first case is where if you hold the slot on the right, hold the slot on the right, always hold the slot on the right. If you hold the slot on the right, the white sticker faces towards you. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to perform this simple 4-move algorithm if it faces towards us. The algorithm is U, R, U inverted, R inverted. And that will create a bridge between the 2 stripes like this. In the next case you can have is if it's in the slot like this, and whether it faces towards you or not, doesn't really matter. It can face that way or it can face towards you. If it's in the correct slot, then you can just leave it. That is the other case, is where it's already done for you, and that's lucky. But anyway, if it's facing the side or facing towards you or facing down but in the wrong slot, we're going to use that same algorithm to take it out of the slot, and then we're going to put it in again. So U, R, U prime, R prime. Now you can see the white faces towards us, but this is not in the correct slot because this is blue, orange, and white, and this is red and blue. So we want to have orange and blue. So we're just going to move it with a U move, and it's now lined up. Now we can use our algorithm to just put it in because the white sticker is facing towards us. Another case is when it faces up, the white part. So all you're going to do is just going to move it until it's over its slot, like so. And then we're just going to use the exact same algorithm yet again. U, R, U prime, R prime. Now it's in here, so we're going to do it again. U, R, U prime, R prime. Now the stick is facing towards us, and we can use that same algorithm. And there we go. Now we've got a bridge between these. Now you notice we've actually taken one piece out, so we'll see red and blue, so we'll keep moving it. That's not the correct slot. There we go. And then we can put it in. Now before you go screaming at me in the comments, just hold on. There is one more case. If you hold the slot on the right and the sticker faces to the right, then all we're going to do is we're going to basically do this other algorithm. It's 3 moves. R, U, R prime. And there we go. We have a full bridge like this. And that is step 3. Step 4 is to build another bridge on the second layer up here because we've already done the first layer. What we're going to do is we're going to be looking for edges that don't have yellow on them in the top layer. So this has yellow. This does not have yellow, so this will be our first edge. So now all we want to do is we want to make a T like this with the edge. Okay, make sure it does not have yellow on it or this will mess up the whole step. Please make sure it doesn't have yellow. So if it were to be on the wrong color like this, all you would do is you would use U moves until it is on the right color like so, and you have your T. Right, the next step is very important, so please pay attention. You need to find out the color on top matching with the other color. So for example, mine is red and we make sure we have a T. The color on top, is that color for red, is it going to be on the left side or the right side? For me, it is on the left side, but for you, it might be on the right side. Right, so since mine is on the left side, I'm going to do the left side algorithm first, and then I'll show you the right side algorithm. If it's on the right side, you could always practice this algorithm, but if it's on the right side, just wait for me, and I will show you the algorithm shortly. So on the left side, we're going to do U prime, L prime, U, L. Then we're going to rotate the cube like this. And then we're going to do U, R, U prime, R prime. And as you can see, that has built a second bridge between the two stems, and we now have a doubled up bridge. Alright, so now if we were looking for pieces, we could find this one. It doesn't have yellow on it, rotate it, and it lines up to make a T. Don't worry about edge pieces, just these two. So it makes a T. Now we want to see is orange on the left or the right, and we can see that this is on the right. So the right algorithm is U, R, U prime, R prime, U prime, rotate 90 degrees towards the right, L prime, U prime, U, L. And now we've built another bridge. Right, now we have this, and it's a T. And just stop and look at my cube for a second. Do you think that this goes on the left or the right? Take your guess. If you guess left, you would be correct. You can see that orange is on the left side, so we're going to do the left algorithm, which is U prime, L prime, U, L. U, rotate the cube, R, U prime, R prime. Okay, if you're screaming at me, now it is obviously is very possible to get this, but this is where the edge is flipped. So what we're going to do is you're going to say, what algorithm do I prefer the most? And whichever one you do, for me, it's the right algorithm, so I'm going to hold it on the right side. If you prefer the left algorithm, hold it on the left side, and then do your preferred algorithm. So I will do the right algorithm. If you're holding it on the left side, do the left algorithm. So we're going to perform the right algorithm, and this will essentially take out the piece. Okay, and then we can just rotate, and there we go. Now, is it on the right or the left side? Take your guess. It is on the right side. So let's just go. And there we go. Now we have a full bridge all the way around. Step 5. What we want to do is essentially, you remember the white cross, we want to make a cross on the yellow side with the yellow edges. So this is called the yellow cross. So what you're going to do is you're going to see how many pieces of that cross are already solved. So for me, I have 2 and they are diagonal. So if you have 2 and they are diagonal, hold them in the top left corner like this and perform this algorithm. F, R, U, R prime, U prime, F prime. Now, if you have a horizontal line, or you had one originally, you're going to hold it horizontal. If you had a vertical line, just turn it so it's horizontal. Perform this algorithm. F, R, U, R prime, U prime, F prime. And now we have a yellow cross. If you had no edges sticking up, then all you're going to do is hold it in any orientation and do that algorithm. So it doesn't really matter which way you hold it. And now you can see that I have 2 diagonals, so I'm going to hold it in the top left like this and perform the same algorithm. Now I have a line, and I'm going to hold it horizontally and do the same algorithm yet again. And now I have a yellow cross. Okay, the next step is going to be to solve the yellow cross pattern. So all we're going to do is look around the cube until we find one that's jointed. In my case, I don't have any, so I'm going to join one up by just using U moves until one joins up. Perfect. Now I've got the green here, and I'm going to hold it in front like this. Okay. Then with it in front, I'm going to execute this algorithm, and that will cycle these 3 edges around like this. So the algorithm is R, U, R, U, R, u2 r prime. And now that these three edges are cycled around, we can have another look at the cube. If you have two opposite edges like this, then just hold it at a random angle and do the same algorithm again. Okay, now look around your cube. Are any of them joined? No, they're not. So let's join it up. And then what you want to do is just keep doing it randomly until you only have one edge joint. If there's more than one edge joint, then just do it randomly in a random order and until this happens. So with your one edge joint, you're going to hold it in front and do the same algorithm. Okay, and my edges are solved, but sometimes you might have to do this more than once. It's not uncommon. I've lost count of how many steps we're on, but that doesn't matter because we're almost done. Just trust me. There's just this and another step left. So what you're going to look for is what we call a correct corner, and this is only after you've done your cross edges. But a correct corner doesn't have to be yellow facing up, it just has to be in the correct position. So this would be a correct corner because green, orange, and yellow are all in one place. It's in its correct slot, it's just not twisted properly. Would this be a correct corner? If you answered no, you would be correct. So when you find your correct corner, hold it in the bottom right like this and perform this algorithm. U, R, U prime, L prime. U, R prime, U prime, L. And now have a look around your cube. Are the corners all correct, or is just one of them correct still? If they're all correct, you're done the step. But in my case, only one of them is still correct, so we're just going to repeat that step. Hold the bottom right and do the same algorithm. U, R, U prime, L prime. U, R prime, U prime, L prime. And now my corners are all correct. So it's time to move on to the next step. And for the final step, what we're going to do is we're going to hold the cube with yellow facing up, and it's now time to twist these corners back into place. Don't just twist them like this. This is bad for your cube. Never twist corners on a cube. Very bad and can make it unsolvable. So here's how we do it. First of all, find the corner that you need twisted. Hold it in this position here and be very careful with this algorithm. You're going to be performing the algorithm R prime, D, R, D prime. R prime, D, R, D prime. Now be very careful. Once it's finished doing this, do not rotate the cube. Instead, move the top layer so the corner will come over to it. If you rotate the cube, all your progress will be lost. So rotate the corner so that the cubelet comes over to it, and do the same algorithm again. R prime, D, R, D. R prime, D, R, D prime, D. R prime, D prime, R, D. R prime, D prime, R, D. And the cube should be solved. Do that for as many corners, but make sure you do not rotate the cube.